But anyway, thank you everybody for joining us, and a big thank you for Dawn and Janet, especially for coming onto the panel with us today to talk about joy and joy muscles. But before we let you get into that discussion, I thought I would give people a very brief introduction to the company behind the Year of Joy. So the company behind the Year of Joy is called The Art and Science of Joy. And I just checked, and we've just turned 2 years old. So we
Wow.
should have a cake or something
Happy
um,
birthday.
to celebrate that. So this time 2 years ago, more or less, Debbie and I sat down and said that we want to do something joyful together, and we don't quite know what. Um, and so we started off with a podcast, really. That was the first thing that we just started off to let our juices flow and to get some guests talking about all things joyful. So we were doing that for, I suppose, about 6 months. And then we got invited to a conference in January of 2022, where we were asked to present about what we're up to with all this joy stuff. And when we were doing that, Debbie mentioned the words Year of Joy. And I sort of looked at her and had no idea what she was talking about. But she said, we're going to do a Year of Joy. And so I nodded as if I knew what she was talking about. And then, basically from there, we sat down and we came up with what would a Year of Joy look like. And by the time we got to the summer of 2022, we had about 30 companies saying, yes, we want to support you in this initiative in different ways. So these are mainly research companies. So some were research panel companies who we know quite a few of our Year of Joy community members belong to research panels, and our partners kindly invited their panelists to join the Year of Joy. Our company partners also invited their employees to join the Year of Joy. So we also got a lot of people into the Year of Joy through their employers understanding the value of helping their employees live more joyfully, which was wonderful. And then the third, just for everything we've done on social media and for everybody just saying, hey, I'm part of this community, maybe you should be. So word of mouth, things like that. So we ended up, by the time we got to November 2022, everything was in place for us to actually start in January this year, the Year of Joy. And now 34 or whatever weeks later, we're still going strong. And so I'll finish there and hand over to my partner, Debbie, to talk more about the Year of Joy, what it is, why we're doing it, how we're doing it. Over to you, Debbie.
Thanks, Andrew. So the whole idea when Andrew and yes, I did just blurt that out, the Year of Joy, because I always say, if you just say something, then you have to do it. Say it out loud and then it happens. Sort of like build it and they will come. So my theory was we had to build some joy in this world. The world was sort of in a funky place. I think it still is a little bit, for a variety of reasons, and for different people, different reasons, right? And we all have our struggles and our challenges. And wouldn't it be great if we came together and helped each other, encouraged each other, and built together our joy muscles, which is what today is all about. So the Year of Joy is really just an opportunity for all of us and anyone who wants to join for free. And thank you, Sherry, for putting that in the chat box, how you could join, and sharing that with others that to join this community and participate as much as you would like. Every week, we have a different joy expert discussing and giving information and education about their expertise, their topic. It could be nutrition. It might be something about positive impact on the planet. It might be about empathy. I know I'm going to do a week coming up on the joy at work. So there's a lot of different areas that we all talk about that helps us build our joy muscle. And we all need to put our own effort in and determine how we best can become more joyful. Because if we're all more joyful, the world is just a better place for ourselves and for others. So in this community, you get that opportunity, and there's a wonderful chat forum, as well as some research being done by some wonderful researchers so that we can show people what this really does for the world. We have developed this fabulous measurement tool, and I'm all about measuring things. By the way, Andrew and I are both researchers by nature. That's what we have done for the past, I don't know, many years as researchers. So we like to measure things. So we have the Joy Barometer, which I hope all of you have taken, and then take again to see that if you're working on your joy muscle over time, you'll see that you've increased your joy. So all of these things are really a wonderful way for us to change what the world might look like in another few years. And wouldn't that be fabulous? So I'm not going to keep going on because I could talk about this for the entire hour. And as Shari has said to me, and you do talk about this for an hour at sometimes. So I'm going to stop now. I'm going to pass it on to Shari, who's going to introduce what we're doing today.
Thank you. I've been known to talk for hours too, so no judgment there. Welcome, everyone. I'm Sherry Elise. I am the Year of Joy's Joy reporter and spokesperson for the company because I, too, am a fan, a builder, a spokesperson for joy. And so today we are really excited to have some of our community with us, our community members today. And as Debbie mentioned, and Andrew, we're all about increasing the joy and building people's joy. So we're very honored to have members here to talk today about joy and how to increase the joy muscles and what the community has meant to them, their own personal joy journey. And so we're going to have a discussion, and we welcome you to engage with us in the chat. At the end, we're going to have a Q&A where you are welcome to ask anything that you like, of course. So without further ado, I'm going to introduce two of our community members here. And what I would love for both of you to do is just to share a little bit about your own personal journey with joy before the community, before anything else, just what that looked like every day in your life. So first we have Dawn. Dawn, you could say your own last name. I don't want to butcher anybody's name. And we have Janet here. So first, welcome both of you. Thank you for being here today with us. So yeah, for sure. So Dawn, we'll start with you. Why don't you talk to us a little bit about your own personal journey with joy?
Sure. Well, first of all, I have to say I'm very honored to be here as a representative of the community.
Yes, so, we're glad that you said yes.
Us, it's a very unique experience from our side because normally we were listening to a panel and now we get to be on a panel. So thank you for that. I would say that my joy journey, I guess, would start as a child. In fact, that's one of the activities that I started in the joy community. We did a focus group in March. That may be something that we will discuss later. So, it's something that you don't really think about in the beginning. But then, of course, in 2020, we got hit with the pandemic. So then your ways of thinking of joy kind of changed. Ironically, at that time, my mom was diagnosed with dementia and she wound up going into a nursing home. Unfortunately, she passed away this January. And ironically, that's when this community came up for me. Full disclosure, I'm in quite a few panels and in a lot of communities, not panels, communities. So I was invited by another community to join. And I think it actually came to me at the most perfect time because when you're in the middle of a grieving process, you're not even sure if you're allowed to experience joy. You're like, what does that look like for you when a loved one passes away? Am I allowed to be joyful? So that was one of the things that I was actually trying to explore. So, obviously I joined this community at the beginning of this year, so I'm kind of new, but, it's been here for a few months and I've participated in quite a few activities. And so now I'm relearning joy in 2023 in a new way.
Oh, thank you, Dawn. First, sorry for the passing, the grief and everything that you're going through. And I will say that things show up at the perfect time for us. So we're glad that the Year of Joy community did at the right time. So thank you for sharing. What about you, Janet? Share with us a little bit about what your journey looked like with joy, or without joy before Year of Joy.
Well, I think I'm what they call an extrovert, which means I thrive on, people. I get a lot of my stimulation and my excitement and my joy in life from being with other people, being with friends, being part of communities, and it had always sort of been in person, right? And then the pandemic hit, and I think I surprised myself how much that made life very different, right? We all went through it. And for some people, my husband's an introvert. It really made no difference to him. He can bury himself in books and just be self-sufficient. And I was left sort of reeling. And I think it meant that I looked, maybe for the first time. So like you say, good things come from most things. I started really noticing the small things in life. Like I would go for a walk with my dog. First of all, my dog got a lot more attention, so he was happy. But then I would go for walks, and I would make the walk last longer to fill the time that we all suddenly had. And I started really noticing flowers or bees on a flower. So flowers in particular, I've always loved, flowers. Who doesn't like them? I always have some in my office. But I think it just made me really look closely and I started taking photographs, and honestly, that brought me joy, just really seeing how incredible nature is when you get close up to it, and just the wonder and awe of that. So, thank you, pandemic, for giving me the space and time to look more closely. And so I think when the Year of Joy came along, as you said, it was just good timing, because I think we were all in a bit of a sad state, and it became another dimension of what could bring joy back into life. And I guess Debbie's term of joy muscle, it was like a different joy muscle, right, from the nature one. And I too have a background as a researcher, and I've been lucky enough to talk to my business partner, and I both volunteered to the Year of Joy, that we would hold some focus groups and talk to members to understand what lots of people got from it. So I am careful here to talk about my own experience as a community member, and also on behalf of some of the lovely people I've met, leading some research for them. So those different aspects of the things that bring you joy, but other people, and having this access to see, like the music one recently. How wonderful was that? I don't know if anybody else read everybody else's contributions. It reminded me of so many songs that I just haven't thought about. And Bob Seger in particular, I got out my old CD and started listening to Bob Seger again, who I sort of, was part of my past. So when somebody mentioned that, it just, again, just brought me a moment of joy. Think, oh my God, I haven't listened to that for ages and rubbish. So it has definitely brought people back to me in a way that I, maybe lost during the pandemic. And we've all still, I think, got a quieter, more home-based life than, I don't know, maybe others will disagree with me. Maybe they've gone back to how life was before, but I don't think so completely.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you for being here with part of it. We're going to dive towards a little later about how the Year of Joy really did, how it does help you continually, daily, or however it does play in your life. I'm curious for both of you. I know you talked about Janet, about being an extrovert and what the pandemic did, but wanted to know if before the pandemic, would you say for both of you that finding joy, being an optimist, having positivity in your life was something that was easy for you? Were you always a rose-colored kind of glasses beforehand, and so this was a little easier to hold on to, or how would you describe that? I'll go back to you, Dawn.
I would say yes and no. For the most part, yes. I try to find joy in every day. Some days can, of course, be difficult. Even when I went to visit my mom in the nursing home, and I have a pretty funny story about that. One of the things, because you're not sure if she recognizes you or not, but she loved chocolate chip cookies. So I would bring her chocolate chip cookies and her eyes would light up, and that would just make me beam with joy. I loved it. one day I switched out the cookies because I figured, well, she doesn't know what brand they are. So I went to CVS and I bought a CVS brand of cookies. So she starts chewing on the cookie and then she puts it down. And I said, what's the matter? She goes, oh, this cookie doesn't taste the same as the other cookies. So I couldn't fool her.
You couldn't fool her.
So, pre my mom's dementia, life was a lot more joyful because we would always go out and, do some fun activities. We'd go to the movies, go to Broadway shows, go out to lunch, dinner, this and that. I would go out with my friends. And then, during the pandemic and the other periods of time when things were a little bit not so joyful, but I would still find joy in those moments. Right. I went to her house one day and I didn't even know this, but I put some music on for her, speaking of music. And she loved salsa music. And she was like, oh, I used to salsa dance. And my whole life, I had no idea that she used to salsa dance. So she actually showed me how she salsa danced and then she taught me.
I love that.
Yeah, it's just like you have to kind of find the joy in the days that are not so joyful. So yes and no.
Okay, no, that's great. The reason why I ask this is because there are people, which we understand, that when you're faced with the challenges in the world, that say that it is difficult to find joy. And then there are people who naturally, gravitate towards to see the good. And so that's why I'm just curious, because for those who are watching who may feel like they can't find any joy unless there's something good happening without seeking the good, if that makes sense. So that's why I was curious about your own personal experiences. What about for you, Janet? Would you say you're a naturally joyful, positive, optimistic person?
I think so. I think I've always tended on that way. And strangely, my husband is the opposite. So I always give him a hard time about being a glass half empty person, and yes, shame him into. And I think it is intrinsically just different people are so different from each other. And I also appreciate his view on things because they're often different from mine. But I think it is hard when you don't feel that welling up inside you, or there isn't enough joyful things going on around you. And I think that's where I was grateful when I was looking at what everybody else wrote about things, that there was always something in there I could relate to. So people would talk about looking at the clouds and just seeing how incredible they are and how beautiful they are. And last night here, I'm in the Bay Area, there was just this amazing sort of sky with, with all these little white clouds, tiny little like streamy things. But suddenly they all sort of turned into this sort of bright yellow. I guess the sun went down just enough. It wasn't really a sunset, but suddenly there was just this, it lit up the sky. So the white suddenly turned into these yellow. And that's sort of like noticing small things. Again, back to the flowers again. But I think when people mention things on the Year of Joy, it makes me start looking at those things as well. And that was definitely a moment of joy last night. And I just don't think I noticed before. So I'm sort of partly grateful that I'm just more attuned to those smaller things and saying that is lovely, noticing it, logging it. Maybe as Debbie said, if I say it out loud sometimes, perhaps my dog thinks I'm going mad, because I really will say, oh my God, look at that sky, and it just does bring more joy if I log things, I think. So yeah, those little things really can make a difference. Yeah.
Well, it's so powerful. Yeah, what you said, because those are intentional habits. Those are conscious habits to be able to take the time to slow down, to be able to notice. And it's worth celebrating, I would say, because not everybody notices, not everybody slows down. And that's the power in building your joy muscle. That's the power in the Year of Joy community, is having that awareness, is, challenging people to notice these things, to listen to the music, to get out in nature, right? So it's beautiful that you have taken the time to sit and notice last night's sunset or whatever, or the clouds, during that. Yeah. So I love that. We were going to go into what brings you joy today, but it sounds like both of you have shared that. But is there anything else that particularly brings you joy these days? Whomever wants to go. Yeah, Dawn, go ahead.
I'll start. Well, what I did for the month of July, I did a 31-day act of kindness challenge. So that was
Oh,
a way for me to consciously bring joy to others. And in that
love it.
sense, I would bring joy to myself. So, and it didn't necessarily have to be monetary, but just, doing something simple as like opening a door for someone. I treated a coworker to lunch one day. As she said, going out for a walk, experiencing and taking photos and posting them online for others to see, the beauty of nature. Talking to a friend, checking in, seeing how they're doing, little things like that. When you think about exercising joy muscles, I make an analogy of like when you go to the gym and you go to work out and you're exercising your body. I think that in a similar way of exercising your joy muscles, where, you have to kind of make a little bit of a conscious effort to say, hey, what can bring me joy today? How can I manifest it in a sense? Because there are some days, like let's say, Tuesdays and Thursdays, I have to go into the office and the environment can be a little chaotic, but let me find some joy in that day. As I said, I would go out to lunch with a coworker, or I'll treat myself to a nice lunch, something like that. Or as she said, looking out in nature, like seeing a beautiful sunset on my way home, taking a photo of it and just appreciating it. So I think it's little things like that that help you exercise your joy muscles. And my motto is, if I can make somebody else happy, then I can make myself happy too. But I think it's important for us in this community, because one of the unique things about this community is to help ourselves. Because what are we trying to accomplish here? We want to be more joyful. Whereas in other communities, you might be helping a company promote a product or something like that. But here we're actually working on ourselves. It's very important. And I don't think a lot of us take time to do that today. And we need to do more of it, because you really kind of have to be your own advocate. Nobody is
Yeah.
going to, they may, and that's wonderful if they do, but, people may not bring you joy every day. So you have to find it yourself, I feel.
You said so many powerful things. I want to start just with the kindness aspect, because we do know research does tell us that, and they call it the helper's high or the giver's gain, that in doing for others, it sets off, the happiness hormones. That so chemically we do feel more joy. There is an increase in our feelings of well-being helping others. So I always say, like, kindness is definitely a win-win for both sides. So I'm like, give more, do more. But then also in relation to what you said about taking care of ourselves and building our own joy muscle, it's about that kindness turned inward, right? And so there is a double win on the inside as well. And then the more that we can feel and experience joy, the more that people naturally feel that around us. So we're constantly, it's like this whole boomerang effect. So I love that you participated in the kindness. I love that you shared about how it's important for us to build our joy muscle, our own, and to focus on ourselves, because that will always, it's so overdone or oversaid, but, on planes, the flight attendants, right? Like, put your own oxygen mask on first. There's a reason why that is. So we're so glad that you have chosen to focus on your joy, because ultimately it will help everybody else. What about for you? So thank you. What about for you, Janet?
I feel a bit self-centered right now. I was thinking, Dawn, that's so lovely that you just consciously log your acts of kindness. There's no doubt, when you do something to somebody else and they're grateful, that it makes you feel good. So I love that. I'm going to be a little more self-centered. I think I was never a TV watcher, before the pandemic. And my sister was always a huge TV watcher. And honestly, I was always a bit judgy. I was like, really, nothing better to do? Nothing. And of course, I have discovered the joy of getting into a really good series and just losing yourself in the characters and I think reading just became harder for me. I was always more of a book or a reader, and I found it harder and harder to concentrate on reading. I don't know if that was a pandemic thing as well. So I started, I got a Netflix account, and if I'm allowed to mention that, but, all these different streaming services. And I started watching various series, and there is something really joyful about like immersing yourself and looking forward to the next episode, and I don't know, getting really into it and realizing that, oh my gosh, 2 hours have just gone and I feel like I've achieved nothing, but actually I felt really happy and joyful just being in somebody else's world for a little bit. And there are some great shows out there, and I started thinking about all the people that make that happen, and the recent writers' strike, and the sheer number of people involved in bringing this joy to my screen, and the art and the creativity and the writers and I don't know what it takes to put that on. And I'm sure each second of thing that I get out of it takes, I don't know how many hours of effort from a lot of people to make that moment happen. So I think I just got more appreciative of it really as an art form, and so that has brought me a lot of joy. I don't know if others will empathize with that, but there's some great series out there. And it surprised me. I've actually had to eat humble pie and say to my sister, I'm sorry all those times I made you feel bad, and because I get it. Yeah, Dawn.
Yeah. We've all eaten a slice of humble pie here and there, so as long as you can say it. Dawn,
that's so funny because I also recently joined Netflix this year, right about the same time that I joined this community. However, it was something that was recommended to me, which probably has been out there for a while. It's called Headspace, and I'm trying to learn the art of meditation to be calm, or because here in New York everything is go 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 go. So that was the initial reason why I joined Netflix. However, I'm discovering series, so I agree with you on that. And there's also a bond with that with other people, because then you can communicate with others. I'm actually on a Facebook community of people that watch similar TV shows as myself, and we bond over watching some of those shows. So that's another way that you can have joy with others by expressing your appreciation for some of these shows that you watch.
It's so true. We already know that creativity, increases our joy being creative, surrounding yourself with that. And you're speaking to a fellow former actor and art at television host and that thing. So there is so much joy in the creation of it, and then we do it so you can feel that joy from that as well. So you're a preacher to the choir here. I'm like, yes. And that, like, what a beautiful thing though too as well, to really focus in, like, to get aware that you love those moments of whether it's getting on your couch with your favorite cup of something, or crawling in bed and having the series and the characters. It's really cool. I love it. Love that those are your forms of and headspace, meditation, all things. These are all ways to build your joy muscle. These are all these are all very conscientious ways to build that muscle. So let's dive into what you both think are some of the challenges today in finding joy in the world. And maybe just your thought, well, not maybe, just your thoughts around that. Whomever wants to start. I'm not going to. Go ahead.
I guess I'll start because this is an issue that I have in general.
Mm-hmm.
I watch a lot of news, especially local news. And unfortunately, one of the downsides to the news is that a lot of the news is bad. So, that can be something that can be challenging just in general, is that, yes, you want to know what's going on in the world, but a lot of it can be sad. I mean, look what's going on in Ukraine. Look what's going on with the wildfires, natural disasters that are happening, things like that, people that are homeless. There were so many things that can make you sad. So that was another reason why I said I kind of have to flip the switch and find things that are joyful. So there is a segment in the news hour that has some positive, it's in the 4:00 hour. And I tend to really focus on that hour much more. So they'll bring on an expert, and it'll teach you little tips and tricks about how to get through some everyday things in life. So that's one of the ways that you can kind of turn it around. But there are going to be some days that you are going to have challenges. However, I still think even in those challenging times, you can find one moment of somebody who maybe have helped you get through that challenge, or at least you can empathize with you, who, feels for your situation. So I still think even in a downtime, you can still find like a little piece of joy, and you're allowed. You're a human being. You're allowed to feel the whole range of emotions. So feel them all. Don't suppress them.
Yes. And I just want to reiterate what you just said. Allow yourself to, like you said in the beginning with the grief and like, is it okay to feel joy? I always say that nobody has ever felt better because we withheld our joy. The world has never changed because we have chosen not to feel it, because we feel like we feel guilty, or the world is in a really challenging place. And so we shouldn't feel the joy. Never has that direction ever helped anybody. So powerful. I just wanted to say that. What about for you, Janet? What do you feel like are some of the challenges?
Yeah, I totally get that sort of like, is it okay to feel joy? And I definitely, I'm a news junkie too, and I have tried to like maybe watch a little less, but it also, it makes everything relative, right? If I'm feeling a little like sorry for myself, or things haven't gone my way, or I've got a tough week coming up, whatever it is, I just look at what other people are dealing with and, force myself to feel lucky that I'm not in those situations. And I sometimes that doesn't help at all, right? You can't look at other people's misery to make yourself feel better, but you can just think, oh my God, there but for the grace of God, and what, how dare I not feel good about some small thing that happened, and just keep everything in perspective a little bit more. As Dawn said, you don't have to watch the news for long to know all the terrible things, challenges that people are facing, and they're very real challenges of loss and devastation and destruction. And I think there's something about most of those things that are sort of usually out of our control, right? There's not much I can do about the war in Ukraine. I can support it financially, or I can, and I think some of those things are just so big. The big storms in Southern California, there's nothing you can do to stop them, right? I think that's where coming back to things that I can control and that I can do to make myself feel happier. So maybe instead of like just grabbing whatever for dinner because there's nobody else to cook for in the household anymore, I will force myself to, get a chicken breast out of the freezer and think I'm going to actually plan and focus on how I'm going to make this a delicious meal tonight. And it's something I can control and make my evening dinner a more enjoyable experience than grabbing a piece of toast, or whatever it might have been. So I think that conscious, and I've loved some of the, like the curiosity theme and the resilience theme, and Nick, can't remember his name, was it Nick Elson? I loved his live recording, just to stop and think differently about things. And anyway, his joy. And you, Sherry, as well. I mean, look at you, your beautiful shirt and your lovely pictures behind you. I mean, that alone, again, noticing these things and realizing that it's beautiful, and it's lovely, it's cheerful. And the fact that your nail polish, which I never wear, matches your shirt. Isn't that just great? I love it. It's so joyful.
I didn't even plan this one. You just pointed it out to me.
I love that color shirt too.
Thank you. Well, I gotta say, you two honestly are filled with so much wisdom and so much insight and tips for us. And it's so perfect to share, because what the continual message that I'm hearing from both of you is the choices to find the joy, is in the choices to be more aware, is in acknowledging and noticing that there are hard things in the world, and there's things that we can't do about it, but what we can focus on is ourselves, and how can we create a better feeling moment or a better feeling day for ourselves. So the more that we increase that joy muscle, when the harder times come, we are more resilient, right? We can be able to show up in those harder times and be able to be more fully ourselves and not drown in them. So I love that you said that. And Debbie just asked in the community, we would love for you to engage. If you have, questions, let us know. Share with us ways that you feel joy. And then I'm going to ask you this one question. I'm going to invite Debbie back on, and then we're going to invite the community to come on and share with us as well. Both of you have already mentioned this throughout here about how the Year of Joy community has helped you. Has increased your joy. Is there anything left that you want to say? Because our hope is that people consciously choose to come to this community to increase their joy. So, and what ways have, from where you were to now? Go ahead, Dawn.
Yeah. Well, as I said, it's a learning experience, believe it or not, learning about joy. There's, as you said, there's a whole science behind it. I would really recommend that if some of you haven't attended some of the live streams, I just want to note that they are recorded and they are on the site. So I don't know if you just get an email and you just choose to do an activity when you get an email, but you can consciously actually go on the site and you'll see tons of resources there that you can read through. You can watch whatever format works best to you to absorb the information or to learn something. You don't have to just go when they send you an email. You can actually go in at any time and check out any activity. And if you miss something, it's recorded there. So please, if you're feeling like you're having a low moment and you want to like perk yourself up, take advantage of what is in the community. That's why it's here.
Yes. I love that. You can choose, you can actively go in there. You can choose however much you want to participate. And there's always something for everybody in all different areas of joy. Any thoughts, Janet?
Yeah, I think I like, and a lot of people said this to me, just the different chat streams. And, there's a lot of them now. I don't know, 30 plus of them. So sometimes I'll go back in and just remind myself what other people have said about things. I get something from reading other people's responses to the questions. I don't know who it is, the posers and the moderator. It's her name, Laura. And she does a great job, just like, making me think about things. And then I'm like, here's what I think. And then I look at everybody else's and it just becomes richer, right? It's like a tapestry or something. And the picture gets richer and richer. And just that diving a bit deeper and looking a bit harder and reading a little bit more. And I realize that it makes me think more and it makes me think differently about the way I might perceive something. So I feel the chat stream for sure. I've loved some of the live events too, and it's nice that the recordings are now all on there. Also, I like the sort of recommendations for reading and even like there's a quote, was on each theme, and I've always loved quotes. Just again, they make you think differently. Actually, I was thinking we should have a community quote corner or something where people put the quotes, because you come across them quite often. I used to keep a notes section on my computer. When I came across a good quote, I would dump it in there. But it's fun to see everybody else's quotes or jokes, right?
Yes.
Either good, fun to read the different jokes that people have.
Yeah.
So I definitely get like a positive buzz when I purposefully go in and spend time in there.
Yeah.
So it is like a little corner of joy. And it's the news, you can't always rely on it. Having that, I'm gonna have to check out the 4:00 news app and always in the year of joy. There's some good positive stuff in there.
Yeah. Go, Dawn.
In piggybacking off of something that Janet just said about the quotes, I had a friend, and this is way back when, she used to put positive affirmations all around her bathroom mirror when she was getting ready in the morning. So that would kind of be like her get up and go moment. Like she would read those positive affirmations and it would start off her day in a good way. So that might be another suggestion for people to think about. If you see some of those quotes in the community, maybe put them up on a bathroom mirror, put it on your cell phone. If you're on your phone all the time, put it where you're going to see it. And this is like a reminder for you that, something positive can happen for you today. So, let's try to manifest that.
How powerful is this, Debbie, hearing like just directly from the community members? Thank you, Janet and Dawn, so much for sharing your journey with joy and how this community has helped you, and so much inspiration for all of us to pick up and to notice and to do. So good. I will say I asked the community, and I know Debbie's gonna chime in here. Maybe she came on here to say it and I'm stealing her thunder, but Bridget shared with us that she says that the way she starts her joy is she sleeps with her blinds halfway up and the sheer drape over the side so you can watch the sunrise every morning. And that's how I start my day, with a feeling of joy. I love that. Love that.
It is great to learn from each other. Janet, you said something about a curiosity, and one of the things I noticed, I've always been a curious person, but I think I've actually become more curious as I've gotten older. And I think that has helped me to build my joy muscle. So from a personal experience, I found that if I'm very curious and I want to understand more and hear from other people and learn from other people, that I myself become a more joyful person. I potentially become a better person. And then I share that. And I'm a big believer on that ripple effect, or whatever we want to call it. That if you have this little bit of joy that came your way, that you share that with someone else each day. And that helps everyone just be able to get through those challenging times. I'm a very joyful person. I've also feel like I've not lived the most challenging life. I feel very blessed and grateful. Yet I have challenges like others. And my challenges are real to me, just like everyone else's challenges are real to them. And so having someone that you can talk to, or just reading something or listening to someone, helps you get through that day. Dawn, I love your 4:00 news hour. I'm going to look for that. I don't know if that's on the West Coast, but I'm looking for that. Because like
can I plug something right now? I'm going to be plugging that I have a good news show coming out soon called Good Morning Joy, that's going to be reporting the positive news in the world. So just be on the lookout for that, because that is the point. Yeah, that is the point, is to continue to focus on and share the good and the joy in the world. So just want to say that.
Sherry, what was it called? The Good News Show?
No, it's going to be called Good Morning Joy.
Good Morning Joy. Love it.
And there'll be a
wonderful show. She interviews people and gives tips and talks to people on the street. And it's just filled with good news. Not that we should be unrealistic, everyone. It's important to know what's going on in the world and the struggles people are having and the horror that happens. And I would originally tell you we're in a horrible place. But if you look back on history, there's always been horrible times. There's always something that's going on. You know what's different right now is that we have access to so much information in front of us at all times. When I was a little girl, the news was on at 6 o'clock. 6 o'clock was the only time you saw the news. It was on 3 channels, ABC, CBS, and NBC. I'm aging myself, I know. And there was the newspaper, and that was it. So it wasn't in front of your face all the time, all the things that are going on in the world, but there were always things going on in the world, always. And now it's our job to control how much we consume of that and how much we take our time to consume other things that can even that out, right? I think that, so it's in our control. Like I always talk, and Sherry always comments on, so much of our joy is determined at birth. You're born with so much in your DNA. So much happens because of circumstances in your life. There's this huge part of the pie that is totally in your control. So at least for that portion, you have control of how much joy you have. And so this year of joy and talking to people like Janet and Dawn and Sherry is about letting everyone know it's in their control to be more joyful than they are yesterday. Today, they could be more joyful.
Love that. Those active choices in those moments. So we want to invite everybody, if they have any questions for our panelists, for Debbie, for anything, or any comments that you want to share, maybe about your own personal journey and you want to share, we would love for you to do so.
I just want to respond to Bridget. She put something in the chat about Saturday Night Live. That was the Deep Thoughts, I believe, by Jack Handy. Al Franken. That actually made me laugh.
And for those who didn't see our, Janet, why don't you just share your joke?
That was a great one, Janet.
I love these two. I guess they're called dad jokes, are they? I don't know. They're really silly jokes, but they're totally, harmless. But why did the Scarecrow get promoted? Because he was outstanding in his field.
And it's those things that make you smile and actually give you a little serotonin, in case you didn't know, and gives you a little bit of joy.
Yeah. Very cute.
I love that.
So anyone Yeah,
Can
I'm
we get
sorry.
one more,
That's
Debbie? One quick one.
Oh, go ahead. Go ahead.
What did the buffalo say to his son when he left? Bye, son.
You're really
Silly,
good.
right?
Good. Good.
I was trying to think of something with roaming, like don't roam around. I don't know, but that was much better.
Any of the attendees who would like to unmute yourself, I've given you that ability, and or even come on camera. You're welcome to do that. And if you don't want to, that's fine as well. And if you have any questions and you just want to put them in the chat, that's fine. We're a fairly small group. A lot of people sign up for these live events, even though they can't make them, knowing that they'll get a recording later on. So there's probably 50 or 60 people who will be viewing this later. But for anyone who's on right now, and if you'd like to chime in, please do.
Yes. I was, this whole idea of spreading joy and, making somebody laugh or whatever those things are that helps build our own joy muscle. It's actually one of the reasons why I do the daily videos. People are like, how, you do this all the time. And I was like, that when I don't make a video, like a positive message, like my day feels off. So for me, that's one of my own joy spots is, and I purposely do that every single day. Put something inspirational, positive out there because it actually makes me feel better too. It's like my own personal pep talk for myself. So I think, making those choices every day and, your daily habits, your daily joy, really can change your day.
Yeah, I definitely empathize with that. Just, when you're feeling a little rough, just to go find something that will bring you joy. I don't perhaps have the same creativity as you, Sherry, but I can definitely just go and, I go for a walk and I just look at other people as well. And there's always something about people watching. Always fascinated, I start to imagine, I wonder how they know each other, or I wonder what their relationship is, or I wonder what they do for work, and and just let my imagination go. And I start writing stories about these people and their lives. I'd love to share them with them sometimes and see how wrong I am, but it doesn't really happen.
By the way, that's super creative. You have plenty of creativity. We all do. They're just in different areas. So, and here's something for your quote corner. And we were talking about a quote corner. And with what we're saying right now, I always think to myself and say, when you feel discouraged, encourage. And that really helps. So, is there nobody that has any questions or wants to go ahead? Sorry, Debbie.
No, I was just going to say, I always find that if I'm feeling a little blue or not so joyful, I try to help someone else be joyful, and that brings me joy.
Yep.
So sometimes you can go about it a different way, right? Not being selfish or selfless, but sort of trying to help someone else and help myself at the same time. So that's another way to help build your joy muscle. And by the way, I do that with all my muscles. I'm not very good at exercising, so I will have somebody else come exercise with me to make sure that I do exercise so that I can build all my muscles. So sometimes you need a buddy. You need a buddy.
I'm looking forward to that.
Bridget says, I found on a cable station that every evening at 10:30 p.m. there is the Carol Burnett Show, a half-hour comedy that makes me laugh, especially Tim Conway. Yes, I'm aging myself too, but it has me going to bed each night laughing and smiling. I shared it with my friends, and now we all watch it.
Brilliant.
Yeah, it's beautiful. Awesome. Any of the things that we can do to uplift ourselves. I mean, that's really what it comes down to. And it's different for everybody. And it's just making, active choices to build your joy muscle. Yeah. Carrie says, I've been doing that with a friend of mine. She's in the mind space that I was a few years ago, and I just have to encourage her to keep going. Awesome.
Is it that old adage about fake it till you make it? If you're not feeling the joy welling up inside, then somehow get it from the outside. It's like eventually something will make you smile or laugh, and then remind those smile muscles how to work again. But yeah, I know there's a lot of Dawn, you've been through it this year, things that people go through that are just, it's hard to re-find your smile, but you did it, Dawn. So kudos to you.
it's not easy, but as I said, it's kind of like a practice. But I mean, there are some things in the everyday, as you said, that bring you joy. Like you said, just seeing the sunrise in the morning. When my cat jumps up on the bed, he starts purring.
Mm-hmm.
Those little things, and you don't think about, if you think about life from the perspective of an animal, what do they really want? They want to be loved, they want to feel appreciated. They want somebody to care for them. I think that's kind of like something we're all looking for,
Yeah.
So you can look at it from that perspective, and like an animal's eyes, like, I guess an animal can be sad, but for the most part, I see happy animals. When a dog comes running up to you and they're just, jumping on you, they're so happy. We should all be like running up and jumping.
Yeah, if you don't have a furry friend, you have to borrow somebody else's, right? When you're out and about, let's see if there's somebody else's dog that would like to have a little nuzzle and a little stroke. I used to always have like a dark blue water bottle. I don't know why. And I changed it out for this bright sort of lime green, because every time I grab it, it just cheers me up. It's just such a cheerful color. So I think there's all those tiny things we can do maybe that just make a difference, right? Yeah. But yeah, whether it's cheering ourselves up or looking at other people and looking at how we can cheer them up. And I know, like, always speaking to people as if they're truly a human when you go get your coffee or when you're at the grocery checkout, and always, I make that effort, and then I get more out of it myself, for sure. My grocery experience is better because I end up having some really interesting little conversation with somebody I wasn't expecting. I love it where other people can take things that you're not necessarily expecting, just by opening up a channel that enables them to say something. Yeah.
Janet, I agree with you, and I'm a big, like, just smile at people, and if you can get them to smile back, oh my God, that can light up your life.
Yeah.
So those little things really do make a difference. I mean, life is full of lots of little things, and it's the little things all add up.
Yeah.
That can bring you that feeling inside. That's that joy feeling. Beyond a giggle or a smile, it brings something from the very deep part of your belly, frankly, and it kind of swells inside you. That's joy. And that's why we call it a joy muscle, because it's from inside, and you get that feeling, and it does last. Will it last for weeks? No, but it lasts often. Through research, we find it lasts so much that you try to build the next piece of it when that dies down. So the more you work on this, the more you're always looking for that next piece of something that will bring you joy, so that serotonin level never really goes down. And you're constantly working on how to make yourself joyful with those little things each day. So Sherry brings me an abundance of joy. Her color choices, her smile, the way she talks. So when I'm feeling like I'm losing it, I quickly email or text Sherry. Oh, and again.
I would say the feeling's mutual for sure. And this is what we encourage. First, thank you. I feel the same way about you, Debbie. But this is what we encourage. And it's part of, community and belonging, right? One of the 4 ingredients of our recipe for joy is this sense of belonging. And that comes from the community. And you, Janet, so beautifully said that, that just being in there and seeing what other people are writing and how they're experiencing joy. All of these are all of the tools and all of the practices and all the way that we continue to increase our own joy, spread the joy in the world, and ultimately with everybody feeling better. So I know this sounds idealistic, but we can change the well-being and overall positivity of and joy of the world. And so we just want to thank you all for being a part of that, for doing that, for being here today, for being part of the community. If you're not with us in the community, join us over there, and tell your friends, tell your loved ones about this if you haven't yet, because this is how we will change the world.
And I also want to add, don't be afraid to participate. I mean, it's one thing behind the scenes, but I think you get more from it if you actually participate. So please do, because we can all learn from each other.
Yes, that's the truth. Yes.
It's kind of like self-care, self-care a non-negotiable, a priority. So going into the Year of Joy community, even if it's just for 5 minutes to, absorb the joy, to post something for somebody else. It's such a good practice and commitment to yourself to build that joy muscle. So any last words, Debbie?
I would like to thank, I'm taking notes, I'm sorry. I would like to thank you, because that's how we get better, right? Like, take notes from everybody, and then we can make the community even better. I would like to thank everyone for attending, and of course, a huge thank you to Janet and Dawn for participating from the community, and to Sherry for leading us in discussion. And I'm hoping that we'll see everyone else on our next live event. But more importantly, as Dawn said, we'd love to see everyone participating in the chat forum, which I go in every single day. And I love it too. And I love reading what people have to say and acknowledging, and, people share a lot of deep thoughts. So it's nice when they're acknowledged, just, I hear you, I understand, and I am feeling, for you, or I've had that feeling before. People need that. People need to know they're not alone. So thank you all very much. And we'll look forward to seeing you all on the next one.
Great. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Thank you.